Mabuhay, Kamustika, welcome, how are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea, and this is a channel about experiencing marital love, doing a series on cringeworthy things said to single Christian men. Not that you want to hear these things again, but I want to just say that I've heard these things over the many years I was single, and I want to help you to understand how to maybe see what light it was said by the person that said it to you, and maybe try to find the truth and the error in it. I was single for a very long time. Didn't get married till I was 53. Been married 5 years now. Hard to believe, but I'm very happy with that. Very happy being married as I thought I would. I didn't go into it thinking it was going to be a heaven on earth experience, so I never teach that. I always want to talk about what's realistic about marriage. And one thing I know about being single and being realistic, it's hard. You hear some things that are cringeworthy, and makes you wonder if you should ever talk to anybody again about your situation. You're looking for some empathy. Well, I'd like to think I could give you some empathy and share my experience on how I survived being single and how I got married. So subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. Check out the lvbts.com website. And you see the videos there. They're in article form. There's a message board there. Hopefully we'll have some podcasts in the future. And just look for a topic or something like that that would appeal to you. Although I married a woman from the Philippines, the things I teach should be able to be used by anyone in any marriage. So on to some more cringeworthy things. I've only been saying a few each time so as to not overload the cringe factor. So let's continue with the comment like this. What do you do if somebody says, well, the Bible says there's no marriage in heaven, so don't get too worked up about it. No marriage in heaven. Well, that's true. I don't have the Bible verse here for that, but there is no marriage or giving in marriage in heaven. Marriage is an earthly institution. Now, it's true that Jesus Christ, who is God, the Son of God, came to marry a bride for himself. In fact, the whole gospel is about marriage, and marriage is a dramatization of the gospel, of God's love for the world, seeking a sinful bride, covering her sin and forgiving her and blessing her. Even back in Genesis, for this cause shall a man leave his father and mother and shall be joined unto a wife, and they two shall be one flesh. That's really the gospel, thousands of years before Christ even came to this earth. Marriage is very important to God. Jesus is married, by the way, just not in the earthly realm that we see, because he's God. So how could he be? His life was here to die for sinners and to teach. He lived about 30 some years, and but he has been looking for a bride. That bride is still being put together. That's the church. And one day there will be a marriage feast of the Lamb. So Jesus most certainly is married, and we will be part of this marriage in heaven, this marriage feast. I don't know what it'll be like, but it will be infinitely better than marriage is now, and I think marriage is the best thing there is. 1 Peter 3:7 calls it the grace of life. That's the way I feel about it. That's with all its imperfections. So while there's no marriage in heaven, you may be living for another, or not another, depending how old you are. You may be 70, 80 years old before you die. In the early part of life, sexual desire is extremely intense, and you can ruin your life if handled improperly, or you can get married hopefully as quick as possible, and not be so distracted about that. When you're in your 20s or 30s, it can be very demoralizing, to be alone. It can drive you crazy almost, and well, don't let talk that there's no marriage in heaven make you feel like, oh well, I'll just tough it out for the next 20 years or so, and then maybe the sexual desire will go away, and then I'll be right. The fact that there's no marriage in heaven really should make you try even harder to get married in this life, not to say, oh, well, that's okay, I'll just live out my life. Your life is like a vapor that appears for a little while and then vanishes. It'll be by quickly, and then it'll be over, and then I'll be heaven where there is no marriage. I don't think that's a healthy way to look at this. It should be an inducement to get married, an encouragement to seek a wife, because it's not in this realm, this earthly realm, for forever. The reason it's here now is, one of them is because we're sinners, and if we commit fornication, we have sex outside of marriage, well, that's wrong. So God makes marriage to avoid that, but also a way to have family and pass on righteousness from one generation to another that way. Now is the time to do it. When you're young, I think, is especially a time to really get after it. If you haven't yet, don't despair. I didn't get married till I was 53. I'm trying to put together videos from my experience over the decades that would help encourage single Christians. So check out Love Beyond the Sea, lvbts.com. See what's there that could help you. No marriage in heaven, that's true, but that doesn't mean you should just wait till you die. Marriage is a wonderful thing. It's a grace of life. Kind of related to that is another thing you'll hear. People might say, well, yeah, you might get married, but you're only going to have sex once or twice a week. So that's what they'll say. And they'll stop. Apparently, you're supposed to deduce from that, oh, well, if I'm only going to have sex once or twice a week, then it's not worth having a marriage for. You're dying of you're dying of hunger, for sexual intimacy, and once or twice a week sounds like heaven when you haven't had it for many years or decades. So, saying you only have sex once or twice a week, when they might say it to make you not feel so bad about being single, should also help make you want to get married, because once or twice a week is better than nothing. Another thing you'll hear people say something like, well, just, yeah, I know you want to be married, but just serve. Don't focus on looking for a wife. Just serve, focus on doing God's work, and then God will, bring your wife there. And some people have served, and some people have met their wife, in the process of their service. It is not wrong for a woman or a man to go serve somewhere in order to help find a wife, or even to go to a particular church that might have a better chance for them to find a spouse. Nothing wrong with that. People say, well, you shouldn't go to church to find a wife. But you can go to a particular church to look for a wife, or another church if that's not working out. And service is good. But when it's only emphasized, just serve. Don't spend any time looking for a wife. Just serve. And then you'll find someone. That may not be true. I didn't find my wife by serving in that particular way. I found her by not quitting, joining an online dating site that was international, and found my wife that way. The times I tried to serve, I never found anybody there. I found a lot of married people involved, but not a lot of single people there. And as I mentioned earlier, I had trouble even being allowed to serve because I wasn't married, because I was single, and people didn't trust me or didn't understand me. And so serving is fine, but I don't think it's going to take away your desire for a wife. I think I can mention one more in here. I'm trying not to make these videos too terribly long. And that's going to be, someone will say, well, just exercise a lot. If you're really frustrated being single, not having, sex, not having regular sex, just exercise a lot. I believe the word for that is sublimation. And, being a younger guy at one time, I exercised a lot. I actually did for many, several decades. Had a host of injuries racked up, in the meanwhile. But exercising a lot is good. But you know what? a couple of things. One, you can go in there with a lot of pent up anger and frustration and just beat those weights up, throw them around, and wear yourself out. And it feels good if you don't get hurt. You can get a good workout in. But at the end of the day, you're still alone. And at the end of the day, it doesn't quench that burning. Another thing is you go to the gym and work out, you'll see some very attractive women there. And that just, it's distracting. The whole thing just becomes frustrating and bothersome. And I just recommend keep looking for a wife. Hopefully in my videos there's something here that can help you, encourage you. Leave comments. Go to the community corner message forums there on lvbts.com. I'm very happily married. I'm not going to leave single people alone and forget about them, because I don't want them to be 53 and single. So try not to take my comments the wrong way. I'm trying to be encouraging. Hopefully that's what I can do for you here on Love Beyond the Sea. So stay tuned for more videos. Don't forget to go where you are wanted.